Wes, how are you
Hello.
doing?
I'm fine, thanks. And
How are
you,
you?
how's it going
I'm
there?
good. I'm back. I'm alive again. I'm not sick
Oh,
this
yeah,
week. I've been doing my exercise this week. I've been walking around town. I've been feeling so much better.
nice.
Yeah,
It's nice. Have you been taking some medication,
I
something like?
did. What's it called? I don't have it with me now. I was just looking. I took a cough medicine called acetylcysteine, and that was excellent. So I was trying to figure out what would get rid of my chesty cough because I don't really get a chesty cough, right? Like with catajo, like with
Yeah,
phlegm. I usually get when I get a cough, it's always a tickly one. So I took this acetylcysteine and it works. It's brilliant. It worked every time I used it.
base med.
Say that
What
again?
is it? It's like a coffee based.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, not coffee, cough. Toss,
oh,
toss.
coffee. Yes.
So,
Okay. Okay.
uh, okay, yeah. So it's a syrup, a sirope, we'll say. Sirope is the word you use.
Oh,
Coffee.
okay. Yes,
Yeah.
that's nice.
I saw a lot of people talking about it online, so I just wanted to see was it real, and they said yeah, it's really good. So I found it's so bizarre in Brazil. When you go to one drogeria to the other, the price is dramatically different. So in one shop it was 50 reais, the other one it's 25 reais for the exact same product. It doesn't
Yeah.
make sense. How is it double? It's so crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that is a lot of generic meds, So there's the original. How can you say the company that makes that
Authentic,
medication?
maybe. Yeah, you can say
Uh,
original or authentic. Yeah.
it's the original brand, and then there are the generic same meds. That it's more like the twice the
Half
price.
the
You know.
price. Half the price. The generic is usually half the price, right? Yeah. I don't know if this one was or not. I don't remember. But there's loads of different brands of the acetylcysteine. But I think both of them are more like generic because I think it's just for anyone can make acetylcysteine. There's no patent on it, so no company's doing so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought it and it worked excellently. But a lot of people take it even when they don't have a cough. I don't know what it does. Like they said, it clears out your lungs, but also it's good for your veins or something because it's like NAC. You know this one. You can buy it. You can buy one as capsule form. It's called NAC. So it's N-acetylcysteine. But you can buy that as capsules. And
Okay.
a lot of people buy the capsules because it's good for your health anyway. But when you have a cough, you buy the syrup.
Oh,
So
I
I
see.
just bought the syrup. But it
Okay.
worked perfectly every time I took it. I don't take it during the day because I won't really cough during the day. It's only at nighttime. But when I take it at nighttime, I don't. I sleep till the morning. So yeah, it was
Wow,
excellent.
that's nice. I remember when I was very young that I had to take a syrup for I don't know what would be the name, but it's like when you get I don't know if it's a bacteria on your ears, because you were
In a
so much
swimming
sun.
pool,
Yeah, that's right.
I had the
That's
same thing. Yeah.
I know
Okay.
that in Brazil we call ochichi, you know.
That's what it's called, otitis. I'm going to look that up because I don't know what that is. It comes up as otitis, but I never heard of. We don't use swimming pools so much. It says otitis. It just says ear infection when you type it in English. Otitis media. Okay, I see it now.
It is, yes. It's like an ear infection, you
Yeah,
know.
this is what it says. You see, okay,
And I remember
inflammation.
that every time I used to throw up the cereal, because it tastes so bad. I don't know if it was because I was just a child, and
Well, yeah, but I think back then they didn't give the right flavors. So I remember getting cough syrup when I was a kid, and it always tasted horrible. And I don't know. So nowadays, the flavor, like when I get the flavor now, it's either strawberry flavor or orange
yeah,
flavor. So it tastes good. But when
that's
I had a kid, though, I had something different. So I got an ear infection from dirty swimming pool water as well. So I
wow.
never learned how to swim when I was a kid because I got it from the swimming pool water. The doctor told me, but I had an abscess. So it was like a big lump in my ear
Mm,
and I had a pain. So the doctor told me the wrong thing at the time. Okay, so you usually get a special medicine, but at this time the doctor said what you do is you heat up olive oil or vegetable oil, and you put hot vegetable oil in your ear, and it bursts this blister or lump in your ear. But you're not supposed to do that now. It's extremely dangerous because if you do that, you could burst your eardrum and make someone deaf. Yeah.
wow.
But that's what I did when I was a kid. I remember going in my ear, and the first time I remember going, this stings, and then afterwards it was fine. But it burst the abscess in my ear, and I didn't go
Wow.
back to the swimming pool. After that, it's like I never going in the swimming pool again.
Yeah, you were traumatized,
Yeah, traumatized. Yeah.
Here in Brazil, it's very, very normal, Some houses even have some swimming pools. It's like very something very
Yeah.
traditional. For
Oh yeah,
example,
but you have the weather,
if you
right?
don't want to go to the beach, to the famous ones and go down the highway, you go to someone's a friend's house that has a swimming pool, and you
Yeah,
make the
no,
party down there. It's like very normal.
yeah, my when I came to Brazil, my father-in-law had a swimming pool in his house, and he never used it. So I was the only person who would nearly use it. My wife and I, and my sister-in-law has one. So yeah, I mean, I guess in Sao Paulo it's harder because it's a big city, but in Indaiatuba you'll see those houses, they all have swimming
Yeah.
pools. It's impossible in Ireland. Of course, it's cold, so I've never seen a house with a swimming pool. That would be
Yeah,
crazy.
that makes sense. I saw a video, like a guy in Curitiba that is were like -2 degrees, -3 degrees, something like that, and the guy just entered the swimming pool, like it
Fail,
was
fail.
nothing to him. It
Ah,
was
but
like his morning routine.
uh, I was doing swimming lessons until, oh, what? When did I stop? February, April. I don't know when I stopped. Maybe I stopped in April. But it was cold at the time. It was getting dark and cold, so I didn't want to do swimming lessons because it was getting too cold. But you know what I did actually? I stopped going to the swimming pool, but I used my swimming pool in my condominium. But I did it because I remember, like Wim Hof and those guys. They do
Yeah,
wow, I can't remember the name. When you make yourself cold therapy, when you jump in the ice bath,
cold
whatever. So
plunges.
close plunges. So I was like, it's the same thing going into the swimming pool. So it was like 10 degrees maybe. I was freezing because
Wow.
the swimming pool water is colder. And I jumped in there and I was freezing. I did breathing exercise and then I would swim back and forth for 30 minutes. But I realized, they said when you do a cold plunge should actually only be 30 seconds. You don't need, because some people are crazy. They think they have to be there for a minute or 2 minutes. It's not. It's only supposed to shock your system. And longer than that is actually bad for you. So I was kind of realizing I was coming out of the swimming pool and I was numb. My hands were shaking. I was getting hypothermia. And I couldn't walk. I stood up and I felt like I was going to fall on the ground because my
Yeah.
legs were numb. So I was like, okay, maybe this isn't a good idea. But I did that for like maybe a couple of weeks and then I stopped because like, okay, it's too cold now. I can't do this. Oh, you froze.
You just
You're back
Now you're
again.
back.
Yeah, yeah, you just
Yeah, so I used to do those cold baths. I remember when I first got to know Wim Hof, and the techniques, the cold plunges, the breathing techniques, and all of that. I started
I
doing
still
the
do
cold
it.
baths, just in the middle of the winter of 2022, and it was nice, but after some time, it's just hard, to keep on every day just taking cold baths.
Yeah, it is hard. And it's a bit annoying because you freeze yourself. Look, but there's another idea. There's another smaller trick that you don't need to do. So some other people said you can still get a shock to your system. It's not as intense. But if you just put your face in the cold water, the freezing cold water, and you put your hands in there, you'll get the same similar benefits.
Yeah,
Not the same, but similar. So they said, if you don't want to do that, just freeze your hand, freeze your face, and you'll wake up and you get the
yeah,
shock too. So maybe that's a good idea.
yeah, like that guy, that Ashton Hall that makes the morning routine videos.
That guy,
I've seen
Ashton
it.
Hall.
Yeah, it's the guy who makes those weird morning routines. He wakes up like 3 a.m. and then he do
I don't
those
know this
things,
guy.
putting his face on the ice, then he does something, so
Yeah, he
something
looks like another
completely
He-Man
random.
guy.
Then he just start running at full sprint towards the camera. It's
Yeah, I don't know if this guy's a bit crazy or not. I don't know. Yeah, sometimes I don't know because there's so many of these like influencers, and I don't trust. He's probably one I probably mightn't trust. But do you ever hear the Liver King? So he was fake too, because he was more famous. That Liver King guy. So he's like, I eat liver, only liver, and I eat raw liver.
it's the
That's
Liver
something.
King guy, right? He was saying that it was natural.
Yeah, yeah. But he was saying it was only liver that he was doing and getting really strong. And then they found out he was taking lots of supplements. And he was lying all the time. So they said he was just fake.
Taking
Yeah,
a lot of steroids.
yeah,
He
steroids. That's what he was taking.
sometime After some time, I don't know if it got leaked or something like that, but he was taking like a lot of steroids, like for routine, like not only like when you make that testosterone therapy, just to supplement your hormone cycle, but he was like using cycles like a normal bodybuilder, you would do, like a professional bodybuilder, like taking a lot of steroids. It's crazy.
Great. Well, he was arrested last week, I think. or this week. I don't know. He was in the news again. I didn't read the article, but because people were talking about him and outing him as a crazy person and lying to everyone, he went to Austin in Texas and he was planning to kill Joe Rogan. That's what he said. He was going to kill Joe Rogan. He got arrested. Yeah, yeah, crazy. He was an insane guy.
He's
Yeah,
dude.
there's too
Yeah.
many of those people. Have you ever watched that TV show, The Tiger King? I don't know if we spoke about that before.
No, what is that?
If you have Netflix, watch that show. Everyone watch this. I think it's called The Tiger.
I used to have Netflix, but now I'm using just torrent.
Okay, well maybe you'll find it there as well.
Tiger King.
Yeah, yeah. So there was a whole
Yes.
documentary, but it was so insane because it's about like Americans are nuts, but it's like they have this guy who likes having tigers in his house because in America there's no rules who can buy a tiger, so this guy would buy tigers, and I had him, I had
Oh,
a woman, and another guy.
I saw my father seeing that show. I didn't
Oh,
know what it was about.
it's
I knew.
absolutely insane. It's so insane. Again, you just watch people and go, wow, how can people be so mentally deranged? So this guy's insane. And then it shows two other people as well who have tigers as well, and they're equally insane. They're like having really big egos and like manipulating everyone to do what they want to do. And I think they murdered someone as well in this show. I don't even remember. It's so crazy.
Well,
But it's real. It doesn't seem real. It seems like it's fake.
it's about the guy that likes having tigers. What?
Yeah, but he's nuts. He's just insane. You should see this guy. I mean, obviously he's a weirdo and he's a gay guy and he's I don't know.
Heal the madness. Okay. It's like Peaky Blinders. It's the blood, razors, and money, something like that. I don't remember the thing. Wow.
So, but it is fun. I
The
watched
guy
it.
seems very crazy. He does not seem like a normal guy.
No, he's not. But none of them are. That's what's when they watch. Like I think he got convicts to work for him. You know what I mean? There are guys who couldn't get jobs because they were alcoholics and drug addicts, and everyone in it, like all the people who worked for him, were insane as well. It's just really bizarre watching.
This is like a real TV show, or is
No,
like
it's real. That's why I mean it's crazy. It's not. It's real. It's 100% real, and the people are 100% insane, and it's just hard to believe because you kind of go,
it's
these
just
people
funny
really.
because it does not look real, because the description of the first episode is like meet Joe Exotic, the eccentric
Exactly.
property of a park, who is accused of contracting a murder to kill your
There you go.
biggest
That's it. Yeah.
adversary, Carol Baskin.
Yeah,
Like
with
what?
Cara Baskin. Yeah, and she was insane as well. That's what's so funny. Like he manipulates people because he's getting like people like who are drug addicts and alcoholics and all these other insane people working for him and manipulating them. And this other woman did the same. This other woman saying she's saving tigers, but she's trying to get everyone to work for free as well, and she's getting all the money as well. So they're equally crazy
Wow,
individuals.
that not that doesn't make sense to me. But
Yeah, but when
okay,
you watch these shows, you kind of go, are these real? I can't believe these are real people. It's like I'm trying to think of another show that was similar. Yeah.
it's funny.
They're more shock me. I told you when I read that book as well, the Estação
Wow.
Carandiru. When I watched the film, I wasn't sure if it was real because to me the film could have been way darker than because the reality was really dark. They were murdering people in prison. The police murdered all the people as well, and it just seemed really
Yeah.
insane. But when you watch the film, they kind of make out that it's like a comedy. You know what I mean? Because in Brazil they do that. They kind of make a drama and they make it like a comedy. I was like, this is insane. I was like, is this real or not? I don't know. So I had to read the book, but the book was really dark, like people just killing each other for no reason.
Yeah, I remember you telling me. Wow.
But yeah, we don't know who's real or not. But that one was a good one. There's another one as well that was insane. Oh, this wasn't a movie, but it was a podcast. Shit down, yeah. Of course, like even the name. But again, it was another guy who was eccentric and insane from a rural area in America, like he was from Alabama, and of course he was like a hillbilly, like a wild Kaipira that was also a gay wild Kaipira. It was just
Yeah,
so insane. You read these things, I was like, these people aren't real. How are these people real? Yeah,
Shit, tell. It's a podcast. What
it
is
was a
it?
podcast. It was a really famous podcast. Well, it was about this guy. He was like a gay wild hillbilly who was fascinated with clocks,
Finding you on
drinking.
YouTube. What's the name of the guy you remember?
Oh, what was his name? I don't remember right now. I listened to this because this podcast at the time was number one.
Right here. Tyler Goodson.
No, that wasn't his name. He had a
No.
weird name. His name was
Um,
John Macklemore. I knew he had a weird name. Macklemore. He was a Scottish name. Mac. I'll spell it for you. Macklemore. Yeah, I knew he had an unusual Macklemore.
yeah, I found it here.
So he was really insane. This guy was so insane. It was just weird listening to him. Like these people live on other planets to me sometimes. I was like a Joe Exotic guy, but it's highly entertaining watching these things or listening to them because it's like they don't seem these people don't seem real to me, you know.
Yeah. And how the fuck did you found this? You know?
Well, how I found this podcast was and the Tiger King. So when the Tiger King came out on Netflix, everyone knew about the Tiger King. They were talking about it. My sister watched it. My mom watched it. So then I watched it. The Shittown one, I was looking for podcasts that were trending, and this podcast was trending at number one at the time because it was just so crazy. Because the guy was insane. So it was just like, okay, I've listened to this. I can't remember how the guy met the guy as well. I don't remember how like the guy who did the podcast met this guy, but it was a trending podcast, so I listened to it and I was like, okay, this is so bizarre. This guy's so insane.
Wow. It's
It's
funny
like
because
you.
you can see here like the guy, podcast central figure Tyler Goodson, dead after police standoff.
What the guy who made the podcast?
I believe it were one of the guys who were doing the podcast, because
Oh.
there is his the John McElmore guy here. He had a abandoned house, and this guy also Tyler Goodson.
I'll look up the guy Tyler Goodson. I don't know who the guy Tyler Goodson is. I have no idea. I think maybe he was one of the characters in it. Maybe that was it. Maybe I don't remember anymore. But maybe he was one of the guys in the podcast that was killed. Oh yeah, so he wasn't the podcast maker. He was one of the guys who was in the podcast. So he was probably a crazy person as well. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, there's this all insane. It's
Looks
just
like
crazy.
crazy people podcast.
Yeah, it is a crazy people, but that's what's so fascinating because like sometimes I don't think these people are real, you know. So they're all nuts. They're all like
Really?
because they're all and they contradict each other. Like they're all sexist and racist and I don't know what else, but they contradict each other. You know what I mean? They'll talk about that everything is like the guy will say this guy, the main character, will complain about tattoos and it makes you common and you're a wild hillbilly if you have a tattoo. But then the guy who made the cop podcast found that this guy was full of tattoos and it's like, wait a second, I thought you hated tattoos, and he's like, yeah, I do. You know?
The guy is full of tattoos. What?
Yeah, they were just crazy.
I
They were
have to watch one of those podcasts. It looks funny.
It is funny. They're highly entertaining because you just don't think they're real. That's why I
Well,
think fiction. That's why I love nonfiction books and watching documentaries sometimes because I find like sometimes the reality is stranger than the fiction itself. It's just as good, you know.
yeah,
So like if you watch that one again, like the Tiger King, it just doesn't seem real. It sounds like a fantasy novel that someone wrote.
yeah.
I know. I know.
The last show I was seeing, was that Squid Game. The round six.
Oh yeah, I haven't watched it. There's so many of those.
It's nice, but that last season, I think the quality was much worse than the other seasons.
That's not surprising because if it's round six,
Yeah, the first season that got launched like in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic was very nice, because it was everything new. Everybody was like just surprised with the the objective of the series, making the almost like a battle royale, something like that. And then started launching games about it, everything
yeah,
about it.
information stuff.
But then it just like got the quality was much worse, the because for example, you haven't watched it, right?
No, I've never watched it. I know it got big, but I don't like watching series. There's so many series.
I won't give out the spoiler for you, but basically the objective of the main character, it's just not does not make sense, does not make sense. uh, everything he tried to do when to the series after the season one, it's like nonsense. It's I don't know how to explain that without giving spoilers,
Yeah,
but
I guess I guess like a lot of these TV shows, when they make one series and it's popular, they want to make two, three, four, and five, and it just becomes
I know
stupid after
it's
that.
the season finale. It's the final season they will make. So there are like series. The first one I remember, when they just trying to take profit of it. It's The Walking Dead, because
Oh yeah, that got boring.
the early days, the first seasons, the first, second, even until the five one, more or less, were nice. Were entertaining, But when it starts adding new characters, adding new stories, new
Yeah,
uh,
it goes away from
objectives.
the central plot, we'll say.
Yeah, that's right.
But I think the problem with those ones, I never really liked The Walking Dead. I watched a little bit of it, and I was like, I can't watch this. I was like, this is too stupid for me. And why I don't like it is because the bad guys are zombies, so the main bad guys are brain dead. So there's like not much of a story going on. It's just always escaping the zombies. I don't mind watching a zombie movie, but yeah, zombies with no brains. It's just I can't watch it. I remember like when I'm younger, I watched one or two episodes. I watched maybe the first season. There was Prison Break as well, and that just got dull
Yeah,
as well. The first season I enjoyed, and then after that, I was like, I can't watch anymore. It's just the same thing again and again and again.
yeah. So Prison Break, I heard a lot that people saying that Prison Break is very nice. I have to watch it
Well,
yet.
no, I don't think so. It's good. Like, I'm going to say, if you're telling it, it's like, again, it goes on your age. So, again, if you're going back when you're 15, 16, 17, it's great because you're a teenage boy and it's action and it's fun. But if you like something that has a bit more story or a bit more depth, it isn't really good. You know what I mean? So, I would say I would enjoy it when I'm younger. When I get older, I find those things a bit more boring. It's just like, oh, it's the same thing. So, like, to me, the better ones, again, I don't know if you watch Breaking Bad and Narcos and Game of Thrones, they're like the top ones.
Yeah,
They keep me more entertained and the storyline's better.
I was able to watch it, but only the first two seasons. The final one, the third one, I haven't watched.
Which one did you say? I didn't hear what you.
The third one,
Of which series though? I didn't hear the series you said.
Narcos.
Narcos. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, they were really good though. They were really well done. I liked all of them. The Colombian one and the Mexican one. I think they were really well done. But I don't watch series anymore. I just think they're too time consuming, and I don't know which one is good. The only one I can think is probably good is probably Pinky Blinders because a lot of people tell me they watch that.
Oh yes, I've watched it, Peaky Blinders. It's nice actually.
Yeah, they say
Uh,
that one's better.
it's funny because I know this guy. If I'm not mistaken, Cheyenne Hedge. This guy's channel is very nice because he makes analysis of that book, 48 Laws of Power. You know,
Okay, I don't know this guy.
and he takes a lot of scenes from different series like Suits, Peaky Blinders, Game of Thrones, to analyze the behavior uh, of each character, and how that behavior applies to, for example, the laws of the power. If he's analyzing like the first law of power, it's never outshine your master. And he takes some scenes and even to explain the body gestures, the body language, the
Sure.
the
Well,
game
that's
of
interesting too.
politics. It's very nice. It's a very nice channel.
Yeah, I wonder if we can manipulate people. Like there's who was it? There was a politician in America. She's really really annoying. I can't think of her name. She's like a really annoying woman with a squeaky voice, and she has extreme views. But they said normally she's an actor, and people were wondering, is she acting as a politician? Like someone put her in that position and told her be an actor as a politician, and that's what she did, and then she became that role. Oh, what's her name? I can't remember. She's really annoying. But I wonder if you could do that. Like you learn the body gesture and language, and if you're such a good actor, you can become that person. But I think a lot of politicians are that. They're just actors.
Yeah.
How people want to hear that rage.
Uh, on the book, I've read the book, The 48 Laws of Power. It's a very nice history book as well because it takes a lot of parts of history that some characters, for example, the first one I remember, if I'm not mistaken, was about Galileo Galilei, that he was living like on how do you say smaller?
Smaller is.
When people give it to the
Oh,
hobos, you know.
handouts. Yeah. Do you remember that word? That word was used the other day, but I can't remember the exact word. It's like, so I know what it means. It's like handouts, but I'm trying to think of a better word. I can't think of a better word right now. Yeah. So he was living on like, let's say, handouts or begging.
Handouts, like begging, you know. And then, but he was very smart, you know. He made a lot of inventions and stuff. And then he, using like a telescope, he discovered some stars, you know. And in order to make how do you say, like give a present to the king at the time, he named each star with its own sons, you know. And then he presented this like gift to the king, and then after all of his life, he just live a comfortable life, you know, with the being how do you say, being sustained for by the royal family, you know.
Didn't he get killed? Wait, Galileo. Didn't he say the
I
Earth?
don't know if it's Galileo Galilei, if or mistaken, but I remember it was a guy like this at the time that
I don't think it
made.
was him then, because he's famous for saying that the Earth went around the sun instead of the sun going around the Earth, right? He was famous for that, so he was arrested and put in prison.
Yeah,
That's what he's
yeah.
famous for.
I don't remember if it's him, but it's at the same time, you know, basically. And it's very nice, the book, because it explains like a lot of parts of history, you know. So it tells about Casanova, about some parts in the world wars, you know. It's nice, the book.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah.
Besides
That
all the trying to being manipulative, you know, the manipulation, the trying to
Yeah, of
influence.
course, there's loads of that. There's always wonder, like, who gets into power. When we look at a lot of people who are in power, they probably have really big egos, and they're probably not nice people. Because generally nice, honest people don't want power. I think, it's the bad people that do. That's why our politicians are generally somewhat horrible.
Yeah, that's true. I remember reading a book from what is the name of the guy? I'm trying to remember. I think it's Frederick Hayek. It's uh, uh, one of the writers from the Austrian economics. You know.
Okay, yeah, that was a special, yeah, the way of thinking. I don't know what it's called. Yeah, it's Austrian
You know,
economics. It's the way they think about economies. Yeah, I know.
it's more of the libertarian vision. You know.
Mm.
So he in the his one of his most famous book. It's the Path to Slaveness. I don't remember the name in English, but in Portuguese it's Caminho para a Servidão, like this. Caminho
Okay,
para.
Dominion Power Server DAO. Okay. Road to
It's
Servitude. It could be. I don't know.
yeah, something like that. And it has one chapter explaining why the bad people gets power. You know,
Oh,
so
okay, good.
he basically explained that people with higher intelligence tend to have a more moral values, you know, and it's hard for them to mix with people with lower moral values.
Well, also even lower intelligence. I think it's both. Yeah.
Yeah, so it gets harder to people like this mix into politics and to the government, because the people, it's like they need to have a standard moral value, a standard intelligence, and people that do not correspond this standard, they cannot get inside of it, you know. And then the people with lower moral values, the people that even are psychopaths and stuff like that, they tend to get more in politics, you know, because they are like in the pattern, you know.
Yeah, they
So
just want power and manipulation, and they don't care. They don't.
they,
They don't seem to have.
but it's a very nice one as well.
That's interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I think people just get turned off. Also, there's a problem of being too polite. In England, Ireland, sometimes we're too polite that we don't want to say things that are negative. We don't want to talk about negative things because then it makes us a negative person. So
Yeah,
it's like we don't want to talk about crime. We don't want to talk about these things because then we'll be bad.
it's funny because, for example, from my perspective here in Brazil, I don't know if you've observed that, but people tend to complain a lot. So, for example, complain about the government, how stuff in supermarket are very expensive, how it's difficult to live,
Yeah, but that's normal, I think, everywhere. I don't.
everything like that. But what I see is that it's like very superficial. People do not tend to look out after that, outside of the box. Why is causing that? What is the
Well,
cause of it?
okay, well, that's important too. You're right. Yeah, but that's about awareness as well. And a lot of times we don't understand the depth of things of politics. Like even in Brazil, I find it hard to understand because it's so big. you know. Um, so yeah, we have to understand why are they taxing certain things? Is there corruption? What are you importing, exporting? But you need really someone to explain it.
Yeah,
So
and even like that, it's hard to explain to people. Like you said, the politics in Brazil are like very complex. It's a little bit more complex than other countries, but like you said, it's much more corrupted, and it's like a tradition here in Brazil. Like people just accept that every politic will be like a corrupt guy, not
that's what
even not knowing the guy, if
you're
it's
right.
not corrupt or not, but they know
Mm.
that sometime at that time he will get corrupted and he will stole money, and
But I
people
think
are
the
like,
same way in big countries. I think it's the same way in America, though. Yeah.
yeah. And the point is, the people are used to it. They just complain, but they not try to analyze what's behind of it.
Well, that's because I think sometimes there's lots of reasons. So I always say is that we're too busy sometimes and we're focusing on our own lives, so we don't know how to figure it out. And we want someone to explain it to us more than anything else. And we want a good journalist to go be objective and write about it. And sometimes we can't do that ourselves. Because I don't understand either. I know, like in America, it's very corrupt too. And they'll always say, "Oh, when someone becomes a politician, how do they get? If they're making like $90,000 a year, how come they have that big house and that fancy car? But because they're accepting bribes. They work for lobbyist groups. That's what happens in America all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Um,
So it's like the same thing.
it's the same
So
thing here. And will you? And the thing is, you'll ask you if you became a politician. Someone came up to you and said, "Hey, Nicholas, can you promote this? We'll give you an extra 50,000 AIs." You'll probably go, "Okay."
yeah,
And it's the same with doctors. Look at all the
here's
corrupt doctors.
here's the problem. What I think of the politics here. There's no real opposition. So, for example, Brazil, it's a major left wing country. Like socialist, even
I think
some
you have a balance, though. I don't think that's fully true because you.
parties,
But why I say that's not true,
like
Nicholas?
extreme left wing country. All the spheres of power are dominated by left wing parties. Even now. So there's no, in my opinion, okay, there's no like a real opposition from the right wing, central wing. So uh, if you try to get into a new party, try to make some real changes, you won't be allowed to.
Sure, yeah, that can
There's the
happen.
thing, because
Well, in
it's
Ireland, it's worse. I, I think in Brazil, compared to America, it's better because you actually have more political parties, which is a good thing. I don't fully agree that it's one on the left side because you can see how the last election went. It's balanced who wins it, right and left, but it goes into the parliament, okay? Because you have who wins as a president and as a parliament. So I think there is kind of a balance in Brazil, and it's funny how people think. So if you're on the right side, you'll say everything is left. If you're on the left side, you say everything is right. So I remember like 2 months ago, I had a Brazilian guy, and he was just like, Brazil's an ultra conservative, far right wing country. And I'm like, that's not true. It's very balanced.
yeah. I think he was saying when it comes to the people, that people tend to have more conservative values. So, for example, when you try to ask someone if they would like to have a gun to protect themselves at their own home, I believe that at least 80% or more of the people would like to have.
Oh,
That's
really? Okay, that's really high. I would have thought it would be
I
50.
believe that.
Okay.
for each person at their
Well,
own home, each
you live in
individual.
Sao Paulo, though. You see, you live in Sao Paulo, so I think you're more aware of danger. Well, I live in Indaiatuba, and I would say I don't think that's true in this city. I think less people would say, "Why would I need one?" You know what I mean? Because there's less crime. So that's
Yeah,
what I mean. It just depends
that's
on where
why.
you live.
So here in São Paulo, that makes sense. The people tend to have more conservative values. So, for example, I was seeing this guy saying that, for example, we will have the election next year. So if the for example Lula or some, anyone from the left wing wins, it would be like just a complete defeat for any of the opposite parties, because, like I said to you, if we truly think of the political ideologies, for example, just the left and the right wing, the people from the right wing actually they want more state, more government. That is a left wing
That
ideology,
is, yeah, it is. It is. So it's weird. That's what they
So
want. Okay, that's
uh,
strange.
I will always remember, if I'm not mistaken, is the Nolan diagrams that it's just not on left wing. It's remember it's the left wing, right wing, more libertarian values or more.
Yeah, there's like 8 ways of thinking. There's 4 ways maybe. You can say like liberal capitalist, um, liberal socialist. Well, it's not socialist, but we'll just say liberal socialist, conservative capitalist, conservative socialist. It's kind of like they're the 4 things you can break it down to. Oh, it's not
Yeah,
socialism. We'll just say left with economics. So it just depends where you see it. And then you can also change that 4 to 8 things, which is the extremes, like extreme liberal capitalism, extreme conservatism. You can have it on the extreme ends, which is usually the worst side. So in Brazil, you see that with more the populists of the right and left wing have
yeah.
those extreme values, I would think, in Brazil.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because, for example, you have two. I would say that you have like two ideologies of the libertarian view. The ones that just want a minimal state, that I would say that it's very hard to obtain, even almost impossible, because the state to be minimal, like that concepts of minimal intervention on the economy and stuff. It would be very hard to obtain, because you can see that in every country that has intervention of the state, that intervention is a lot. So, for example,
But I
here
think
on the
nearly every country has that. I don't think there's a country that. What country do you have like an example of a country that has minimum interference?
that's the problem. I
Yeah, I don't
believe
think
that
I don't think there is any. Yeah, the state
there's
is
not.
always going to have
There's not.
someone.
You could say, like, for
Well,
example, that some countries have a more flexible politics, some more flexible governments. So, for example, people are going a lot now to
Monaco.
Paraguay, Uruguay, because they accept entrepreneurs in a more flexible way, in like a tax less
Yeah, well, yeah, but there's a reason.
laws.
I would say particularly Paraguay. They just don't have any resources, so the only way to get money in there is to bring those people who want to bring
Yes,
jobs. So
but
that's
still they have a high quality of life. They are like in developing countries, but the quality, mainly in Uruguay, besides Paraguay, it's like
but
the
their state
city.
interferes more, as far as I know. The state of Uruguay interferes more. They were always more left
I don't
leaning,
know
right?
that, but what I know about Paraguay, that I was seeing some guys say that. So, for example, if you have your rent, your salary, your income coming from other international ways, like even dollars, euros, pounds, reais, even, you do not have to declare your rent. You don't pay taxes to the government when it comes to your income. You just pay taxes when you consume on the country,
Mm.
and that's something that people tend to like more. So they try to get their I wouldn't be able to say what's the name of it in English, but they start paying taxes the on Paraguay, besides Brazil. So, for example, I I take my fiscal exit from here in Brazil, and then I start paying taxes down in Paraguay. So I start the Paraguay laws start applying to me besides the Brazilian laws. When it
Mm.
when it comes to that. So uh, other countries more flex that are more flexible
Okay.
also.
But your country is different because the problem with Brazil and the United States, they're so big, and that's the problem. Again, we always say the
Yeah.
state, like in America, they have state law and there's the government law, central power law, and that's the conflict. And there's such difference. So they will say they don't want big government in Washington telling them what to do in Texas or Florida and California, and that's kind of fair enough because every America's so big, they have different problems in every state.
It's hard to manage like that. It's a continental country.
Yeah, that's what I
Brazil
mean.
is
It's
hard
continental,
to
so
manage. Like you said about the narcos, it also have the factions of crime. So here in São Paulo we have the
PCC.
PCC, PCC, and in Rio we have the other one. But uh, I was seeing some news that they are in some regions, some neighborhoods, they control everything. So they control the supply of energy, the supply of water, the supply of
Yeah,
gas.
yeah,
So
I like to.
in order, if you live there, in order to get all those supplies to just survive, just live, you have to like pay a little tax for the faction.
Yeah.
If you do not pay, or
It's
you
like how the
leave it,
mafia work, the
or
Italian
they
mafia.
kill you. It's
Yeah, you
it's
can't have
not.
a business there. Yeah. So it's like having another government, another small government again.
Yeah, exactly. And the state, the government in Brazil does not consider those factions like terrorists.
Yeah, which is terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, I was seeing that the United States, wanted to pressure Brazil to start considering the factions with as terrorists, so they can put more
Yeah.
punitive measures,
Yeah.
more severe measures. But it's complicated. In some regions, it's like totally dominated by factions. It's
Same in
like
Mexico. So in Mexico, was it? I can't remember. Was it 1/5 of all jobs in Mexico are from the cartels? Isn't that insane? 1/5 of Mexico. But America wanted to brand the cartels as terrorist organizations, but then they couldn't because if they did, then all the Mexicans can say they're refugees to go live in America. So they said they couldn't do it. But it's
yeah,
really insane. I don't know how that works either. Yeah.
yeah.
So
It's complicated.
in Ireland
So
as well, though. I was going to say in my country,
no,
for example, we have different political parties. The main three political parties would be social conservatives, right? Which is kind of opposite in Brazil because you have conservative capitalists like in America, and then it's liberal capitalists, and then we have social liberal socials as well. They're the third type of group, but they're all the same actually. It makes no difference. So it's like having no government because I would say in reality all of them are radical liberal. That means there's no laws, no order, and just throwing everyone on top of each other. So we have a problem with liberal capitalism and liberal socialism at the same time. So it's just like having a joke. It's like having no government, in my opinion. And they,
yeah,
and they work together in a coalition, which is even worse. They work together, even though they should be opposition to each other and point out why each other is wrong. They don't. They just work together. It's really stupid.
wow, yeah. So as I was saying, so for example, in the libertarian view, so like we said, there is that part that would prefer like to have a minimal state intervening on the economy and stuff, and focusing only on the principal aspects that would be the main duty of the state, like public security, like that. And the other ones that are the narco capitalists, they just not want a state. They want to, for example, a place full of free of the complete intervention of the state, so there would be no state, and the method of organizing the society would be by the its own economic incentives, you know. So, for example, you would have a land that people, how can I say? I'm thinking, trying to simplify. People will live in a land that they have their own property, and they start to divide in groups, just to organize themselves. But it basically would be all economic incentives, to have a secure, private security, private education.
But
Uh,
that's always sounds like to me. In the end of the day, they'll just organize themselves as a little mini government. You know what I mean? That's what it sounds like at the end of the day. What will end up happening? So I don't think
yeah,
that works. But is
I
that the right term?
believe it would be more decentralized, but it's very, how can I say, unlikely that to happen. It's something very, I would say, very unrealistic to apply this.
No, it doesn't seem like it would work. But what's the word you use? You said narco-capitalism. Is that correct? Because narco, I associate with narco-capitalism. I associate with narco as drugs. So I think of drug capitalism. I don't know if
Would be
that's the
like
right
this
word.
in Portuguese, anarcho-capitalismo.
Oh, anarcho. Okay, anarchy capitalism. Okay, now that makes sense. Okay, I thought you said narco, so it's anarchy. Okay, yeah, anarchy is kind of like free, open. That doesn't work anyway. I know we use anarchy in a weird way. When we talk about anarchy nowadays, we kind of talk about just no laws, no rules, and just people destroying everything. So we associate anarchy with chaos. But
It will not
I
be
don't think it
about
works.
the anarchy, it's different. The
Yeah,
anarcho,
it's
I
different. I
don't know
understand.
what's the word, but
Well,
like I said,
that's the original meaning. The original anarchy meaning wasn't actually chaos and violence, but it kind of means that because what happens is when we take away laws and order in government, you get anarchy, you can just get chaos. That's what they keep on showing. That's what's kind of happening in Ireland, I think. We have anarchy because we don't have any laws and borders and rules, and we keep throwing everyone on top of each other and saying it's good for the economy. But what's happening is that there's no housing, no schools, no hospitals, and everyone's competing with the job, and crime rates keep going up. So I just think it's kind of maybe like the anarchy capitalism. There's just no laws. There's no government anymore.
yeah. So what I've heard about this, that it would be more organized than the complete anarchy. So, for example, like I said to you, the main principle that they tend to follow is the non-aggression principle. So it's basically you do not start aggression, violence with innocent people or someone who did not start aggression, violence against you. But if someone starts being violent or attack you, you have the right to defend yourself, and that applies to the private property. You know,
Yeah,
so
human property.
you do have your own property and you can protect it, and it's like your own domicile. It's basically your sovereignty land,
Sovereign
and
land, your home.
you have the full right to it. And it's basically your own, and then you can trade with other people, goods and stuff like that, money, whatever, and start developing. I don't know. For me, the idea is okay. It's nice, but it's still very unrealistic. You
Yeah,
know.
what they need to do, Nicholas, is they need to start a computer game called Anarcho Capitalismo and get a bunch of real people playing on a map and see what happens.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's true.
I don't think it would work. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember a guy on YouTube that it's a idle game that you can put like lands, and you can put some people to start developing since from the Metal Ages and stuff like that, and evolving, and you can put what ideology you want them to be. So if
I
you
did
want to
one
be,
like that. Yeah. I can't remember the game I played. I did that as well. And you change it around and it's,
they want to
yeah.
be socialist, if you want to be then to be like atheist, even that.
Yeah.
It's very funny. I will try to find it,
Yeah, but
since
do you know what? Well, I studied sociology. I can tell you what kind of works and what doesn't work. First of all, if you want a lot of the extremes of capitalism and socialism, capitalism works better because you have to study and work hard and be creative to make money, and so it's better those views. Um, uh, Countries that have structure and order, like Germany and England or Singapore, work way better than countries with no rules. That's what it shows. Rules and systems make things work better and they're cleaner and safer. It also shows societies that have some religion are better than ones that don't have religion, because you just like look
yeah,
at communist ones because you get moral values. But again, it
yes,
shows the
I
extremes of
agree with that.
things. And so when you look at other things around the world, you can see some religions are worse than others. So you just go, which religion's bad? Again, you want to say it? Islam, because the Islamic
Yeah.
countries are so suppressive and aggressive, they always lead to violence. So I think that's just an awful religion. So we can
It's the
analyze
same
these
in
things if we
England, you
want.
know. That's the example on England, you know. The country is like starting to degrade, you know, because of the Islam culture.
Yeah, that's what it shows. And even in European countries, they show they're bad migrants and they rob and steal and get involved in violence. So Islamic culture is bad, in my opinion. Radical
Really?
liberalism, the liberalism doesn't work either. It sounds nice in theory, but it doesn't because it's just throwing everything on top of each other without any rules or laws. So the best idea to me is having countries, smaller countries work better than bigger countries, and having laws, order, and having some bond with the people in your country. So usually, again, I mean, America, Brazil's a diverse country, and same with United States. There's always conflict in between people. When we're in Ireland and we share the same heritage of race, culture, and social background as well, we're very similar. We have less conflict because we share the same ideas, you know. So it
Yeah.
shows that that works better overall, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. So, I was reading that book. I think I to you that democracy that God had failed. So, in the first chapter, what the author tries to explain why the monarchy it's better than the democracy.
That's a weird one too, though. I'd like to understand that as well, that
So
perspective.
basically, what the author explains is that the democracy would be almost like a rent car. You know, the politicians would use the time that they have, even if they re-elect for the full 8 years, they would try to use all the resources they can during their period. You know, to
Be
have their
real.
power use in any way they want, you know. So they don't have a real incentive to, how can I say,
Fix the
to,
problems in the
yeah,
country or organize.
and
Well,
maintain
actually, I agree.
and stuff like that.
That's
And when it comes to the monarchy, as the royal family is staying there for centuries, they cannot usurpate all the power because they can get exiled. So they have to maintain a certain type of limit for their power, what they can use, what they cannot, you know, in order to maintain the line, you know, of their family for centuries. So in the
yeah.
same way, the monarchy has more incentives to not use that power so much, you know, not abuse of that power, of the economic power, in contrast of the democracy that the
Yeah, but
politician.
there's another way of looking at that monarchy because I think that's old monarchies. See, monarchies don't work that way nowadays. So let's say England still has a monarchy, same with Denmark, same with Spain, same with Sweden, but their monarchies, the monarchies are more like the representative of the state. Okay, like that's how the president of Ireland works. It's different in different countries. So what they do is they just go to charities and events and open them up. So they're getting paid for that, but they're not actually running the country. They don't do anything economically and they don't do anything with government. So, but monarchies in the past were the difference because the king was actually controlling the whole country. You know, is very different. But you know, people make the same arguments with dictatorships and with communism. They'll say, Putin or someone like that can change the country in a certain way and shape it better because he's in power for so long. He after it takes you like 4 years to actually just understand the system of a country, right? Because you're new in the power, you don't have a clue what you're doing. And then
Yeah,
after like next 4 years, you can kind of organize it, and then the next 4 years you make it better. So they'll say that dictatorships can kind of fix those things, and it's the same with communism. So someone said the Communist Party are all on the same page. So if you want to get something done, so for example, when COVID hit in China, they'll just say, okay, we need a new hospital right now. Okay, let's take this land, we're designating this money, and we're making a hospital right now in this area, and they just do it. And well, in our country, we have democracy, and then you have to debate about it and say, do we have enough money? Should it be here, here, or here? Then we have to think about the roads and everything else, and it just doesn't get done, and it becomes crazy. And your point was in America, they get elected every 4 years. So or sometimes it's less. So they're just always focusing on they get in power, and then they're refocusing on how to get back into power, and they just don't do anything in their community. So it just becomes chaos and nothing gets changed. So yeah,
hmm,
but I think that depends on the country. Do you know what country works really well? Is Switzerland. And Switzerland is a country that works very bottom up compared to top down. So Switzerland has, I think it's 26 cantons, they call it. So they have 26 provinces or states. And the states are like run like America. Every state has their own laws and their own like maybe culture as well, maybe because there's German areas, French areas, Italian areas, and they have their own education system. So you go from one area to the other, there's a complete different education system. It's really bizarre. And
Wow.
all the localities have a special representatives too. So you have your canton, which is really small because it's Switzerland. And then you have your district, and in your district, you might have like a local community, and everything has its own council, and it works from the bottom up. Everything's from the bottom up. So they know every single problem within their community and society. And that's why
Wow,
it works so well.
that's a system that works well, you know. You could say that, for example, like this system in Switzerland would be very familiar, similar to that one with the minimal state, you know,
It is
because
minimal. Yeah, it's very minimal. And
so
it's
the
very local.
first of all on the basic communities, like you said, and because of that, you start getting more knowledge of all the system. You know, it's nice. Actually,
And
I didn't know that.
And it's one reason why Switzerland hates the European Union and doesn't want to be a part of it, because the European Union doesn't like that. A European Union is very top down and central in
So,
Brussels. So
so how-
it doesn't make sense. So why should people in Brussels in Belgium tell people in Ireland what to do? They don't know what our problems are because they're in Brussels, right? So they can't tell us. It's a completely different issue. You can't know what's happening in an area if you have a central government so far away from the problem. So
yeah,
in Switzerland, it's just very localized, so they can figure out each little small detail and fix it.
yeah, wow, that works nice. I didn't know. I did not know about that.
And
That
they also said that would destroy their democracy. They would, like, if they were ever in the European Union, they said it was really destroy their democracy because it's so localized, so they could never
yeah,
be a
but
part of the
in
European Union.
Switzerland, they call like what? It's a democracy. What is that?
I don't know what they call it. Switzerland's actually in their language. It's not called Switzerland or Suisse. It's called Cantons Helvetia. So it means the Helvetia states because all the states are different. So it's like a union. So it's like a union of Switzerland, a union of states that are all different. But I don't know what they call their type of government. I actually don't know what it is. But it's locally based and it's bottom up instead of top down, which I think is how it's supposed to work.
Okay, wow.
But I had a Swiss kid. I had one Swiss kid, and well, he was Colombian, and he was just telling me how it worked and how excellent it is. And he said nearly everyone in Switzerland, whether they're right or left wing parties, are kind of anti the European Union for this reason, which is interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking for it. I think it's Union of Switzerland.
Yeah, so it must be unions of Helvetia, or whatever they call themselves. Yeah. But he was telling me he got to vote last because he was 18 last year, and he got to vote in his local elections. And he said that like the education system is very unique too. So it's like he said that in the French-speaking part they will learn English at 6 years old, but if you're if you're in the German-speaking part, you learn at 8 years old. And in the
Wow.
French-speaking part, they focus more on academics. In the German speaking part, they focus more on training, like physical training, so like apprenticeships. And you can get an apprenticeship in Switzerland when you're 16 to work in a company. So if you want to be an accountant, they can give you the option of being an apprentice in a company, which I think is fantastic instead of going to college. You know what I mean? It's a way better idea. And he said
Yeah.
that's why it works so well. They'll figure out, they said when you're around 15, 16, they'll figure out what type of person you are, and then you'll put you in that option. They'll go, you can do the academic route and go to the university, you can go to the apprenticeship route, and you can get the internships. Yeah, the internship is more the one of learning for an accountancy or a computer programmer. It's interesting. But they all have to join the army, which is kind of insane.
Yeah. Oh, that looks nice. I see that here is the Confederation,
Confederation, that's the right word.
Confederation of Switzerland. Wow, must be
But
nice.
I don't know how their national government works though, because if everything's so localized in the cantons and in the district, I don't know what happens when they go to their parliament or their government, or does it make a difference? Like, do
Yeah.
they go to Bern, the main city, and they just say what they need to do? I don't know, because I'm guessing that would cause conflict. Like you might be able to allow, like one area of Switzerland, you might be allowed to have guns. In another state, you can't have guns. Something like this. Actually, I think the most gun ownership in Europe is Switzerland, but it's really safe. And I don't know why they have guns. I have no idea why they're allowed to have
Yeah.
guns. I don't know.
Okay. So, Cormac, thank you for the class. See you
Sure,
next
no
time.
problem.